Hi and welcome to this tutorial on how to set up a PC. Today I'm going to show you how to build a PC and how to set it up with downloading Windows. Before we start, we are going to need to ESD secure ourselves. With this we're going to have an ESD arm strap, an ESD link which we're going to connect the armband with the ESD mat which we're going to have on top of the table. You are also going to need ESD secure tools. Be sure to check if these are qualified to do the work we're going to do. These are the components we're going to use. We have the case, the motherboard, the processor and fan, the SSD, also known as solid state drive, the RAM or random access memory, the GPU, graphics processing unit, and power supply. This is the motherboard. This is the motherboard out of the box. This is the processor and fan. As you can see here, this is the processor and fan out of the box, with the fan on the right side and the processor inside a seal on the left. This is the processor. To open the place where we are going to place the processor, you're going to have to pull this lever out and up. As you can see on the top of the lid where the processor is going to sit, you see a little arrow. Keep in mind of that. As you can see in this video, the processor also has a arrow. You're going to have to match that arrow with the arrow on the top of the lid, like they're pointing the same way. As you can see, I'm also carefully putting down the processor and carefully jiggle at it so you can see that it sits alright. If not, try to do it again. Be also careful when you're going to put the lid back down. Be careful that you don't break the processor or break anything else on the motherboard. We're placing the fan later. Be careful that the screws are correctly placed over the holes in the motherboards. It's pretty simple screwing it fast and you should catch on quickly. To the left we have the RAM or the random access memory, and to the right the SSD or solid state drive. This is the SSD. The SSD comes inside of a box, and inside the box is a plastic lid where the SSD is held. The SSD is easily broken, so be careful when you're placing it on the motherboard. The SSD is going to place closest to the fan, as you can see here, but it also has another point where you can place it, but we're not going to focus on that. As you can see, the SSD has an inwards point where you're going to have to match at as the outward point on the motherboard. As you can see here, what I'm showing you. The SSD comes with, or the motherboard comes with screws which the SSD is going to have to place. It comes in this bag. You're going to have to screw them inside this next picture. As you can see, I have screwed the screw down in this last hole here, and now I'm going to place the SSD. But be careful though, because it can't be a little bit hard to place in, and you can't break it. You can use your thumb to get a little bit stretch, and when you hear the lid, you have placed it. Now you're going to have to screw another screw into the screw you're already screwed, so it isn't like floppy like I just showed you. This is how it's going to look when you finish the screwing. This is the RAM, or random access memory. These are the two RAMs you're going to use. I'm only going to show you how to place one. It's the same to place the other, and you shall really figure it out quickly. As you can see, we have gray, black, and we are going to put our RAMs in the gray spots. If you have another motherboard than the one I use, you can check in your user manual to find out where the RAM is supposed to be placed. As you can see, it can be a little bit tricky placing the RAM, but just be careful, and it should come in place after a little while. The two levers on the side is going to make a click when you have placed it down, like you can see in the video. You can see it automatically goes into place. That's how you know the RAM is placed correctly. This is how the motherboard is going to look when you have the RAM put correctly in place, the SSD put correctly in place, and the fan on top of the processor. This is the case. First remove the screws and then the glass, but be careful, it can shatter. Just put it on the side somewhere where it's safe. These are the screws you're going to use to attach the motherboard to the case. You will only need to place 2 screws. As you can see, I placed all the screws in this picture, so if you want, you can follow this picture and place the screws where they're supposed to be. This black thing is an aid tool which you can use to screw in the golden screws where they're supposed to be. This is how it looks when the motherboard is attached to the case. As you can see, I've screwed the black screws in where we're already attached the golden screws. This is the graphics card. As you can see, it's a GeForce GT 710. Before we place the graphics card, we'd have to remove this bar by screwing loose this screw. This is how it should look when you have removed the bar. The GPU comes with a black protection socket. We have to remove this before placing it in the motherboard. When placing the GPU, you will have to be careful. It's kind of the same thing as placing uh, the the RAM, because it has the same stick as you can see, but it can be a little bit more tricky since you have to maneuver it to have it fit inside of the grid too. As you can see here, the GPU is nicely placed inside of the motherboard. You can, if you look here, you can see the lever that's pulled up like on the RAM. This is the power supply. The power supply is one of the main objects you'll have to need in the PC. When placing the power supply, be careful that the fan is pointing downwards to the grid that's under the PC. but also be careful that you don't that you get the screw holes in the right place. As you can see, all the holes in the case line up to the holes in the power supply. In this bag you will find the screws that you're going to attach to the power supply. It should look something like this. When it comes to cable management, you will have to secure yourself that all the cables are placed at the right place. If you're unsure where the cables is supposed to be placed, you can find it in the user manual. I will show you later. But as you can see, some of the cables has the name written on it where I'm supposed to be, and it makes it a little bit easier. The fan is supposed. You can see that I twisted the fan around the cables like that, so it seems a little bit cleaner. And you can see that it says it is a CPU fan. This is how you know where the CPU is supposed to be, or no, where the fan is supposed to sit. I mean, the CPU is supposed to sit there. That's it again. If I turn it around, you can see all the cables is attached with this strap that makes it look a little bit cleaner, but not so much. But it doesn't matter how it looks back because you would put a plate, you would put the plate back anyway. So, as you can see, there's also these rooms on the left, on the top where you can put the cables through. This makes it easier, so it looks more clean than just having them spread around. But here you can see the manuals and the CDs where the cables are. You can find where the cables are supposed to sit. It may take a while, but trust me, all of the information you need to know about the cables is in these books. As this PC has LED lights, you would also need to attach the LED cable to the power supply to make the lights turn on the LEDs. It's a really long cable, but it has multiple inputs and outputs, so you can choose whichever you want. And I can tell this from experience, and that's the plugging in the LED cable to the power supply can be a little bit tricky, but you'll figure it out as it goes. When it comes to downloading and installing Windows on a new PC, you would need an USB stick, a PC, and internet access. You can choose to search Windows download on your browser or click the link I have linked in the description. When you get into this, when you get to this web browser, you would need to scroll a little bit down and find download this tool now. When you press that link, you will get the downloading link in the bottom left corner. Click that to download. Click that to download the Windows downloader, and you will be ready to go to install that on your new PC. But be sure that the download is on your USB stick before you go. These are the sources I have used.